So, welcome everyone to session 4. We're learning about core motivation today, and just catching up here with the new year. So, before we dive into today's subject matter, why don't we go ahead and go around the room and catch up with each other. So, if you want to share how the end of 2016 went and how 2017 is going so far, and any intentions or goals that you have for this fresh start. Who would like to go first? I saw Lori smile, so we could pick on Lori just for smiling.
No, I didn't smile, I swear. Can you hear me okay?
You're a little bit fuzzy. Try talking again.
I'm just at a friend's house, so we're in their rec room, so I'm hoping it'll work. So is that better?
Yeah, I can understand you. You're good.
Okay. I didn't smile because so far everything just feels like a blur. So just have a lot going on. So.
How was the end of 2016 for you?
It was good. My kids have been in town from college, and so that's always, a little bit of a shake things up a bit. I mean, it's done well, but my son has to have surgery next week in New York, so I'm going to be up there next week, but I should be able to do what I can do remotely. Works out.
Yeah,
but I did have a chance to do some of it when my kids have been in town. It's been cool to kind of see an opening to just ask questions where I wouldn't have in the past, and it's been very neat. So
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I got most of that, Lori, but some I don't know if it's because of the video. So next time you talk, try turning off your video, and maybe it'll let your voice come through. Otherwise, you might want to call in, so you on your phone, so you can have the video on too.
Okay.
But we'll just play with it and see how it goes.
Okay.
But you can turn your video back on now, so we can.
Can you hear me better now or not?
Yeah, I think so. Everyone else is nodding their head.
Okay, I'll keep it off.
Well, keep it on for right now so we can see you, and then when you talk, so we get all your words.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. All right. Paul, you're unmuted, so you ready to go?
I guess that means that I should go next. Just wasn't intentional, just like Lori's smiling. I've been on break. That's awesome. Since we met last on the 21st, that's been basically my entire time off from school, which has been really relaxing. I've got a lot of skiing in. I went 4 days. One of them was cross-country skiing, so that's good. I gained a lot of weight. We had a party here for my colleagues. That was fun to bring them all in. I mean, I love the holidays. There's a lot of snow finally here in Colorado, which is getting back to how it used to be here, so that's nice. And I drove up to see my brother in Montana and be with his family, which was really great. It's 12 hours of driving both ways, and then we drove 4 hours to go skiing. So that was a lot of driving time to be with his family, but we all enjoy that together. So yeah, I go back tomorrow to work. So we're bookends, meeting you, Hannah, and the rest of our team. So yeah, that's my holidays. I don't really set intentions. I just strive to get through the rest of my school year. I think that's always my intention is let's bring on part 2 the best we can. So, I should probably be more meaningful doing this kind of work, but I'm not. So there you go.
The intention is to make it to summer.
It's modest.
Well, I'm glad you had a relaxing time. You certainly not stressed out or anything today. You seem like
that's true. I'm ready for anything.
Exciting. All right. What about you, Nick? Are you still on break too?
I technically, yes. Our students are not back yet, but we are back. So it's very slow.
Yeah. How was your time off in 2016? And
Time off was good. The end of the year was okay. Yeah. I am currently in the midst of wedding planning, so any free time I get goes to that, and we get closer every single day, and about 15 new things pile up every single day that need to be taken care of. So yeah, that's kind of taken up a lot of mental energy at this point.
yeah, that certainly does that. Especially, is the date coming up this year?
Yes, April 1st.
Wow, it'll fly by.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Great to catch up with you. Needy, what about you?
Hey, yeah, I've been on vacation for the last 2 weeks, and I traveled to San Francisco with my daughter. I was visiting my brother's family, so it was good fun to be with family. And now I'm back, looking forward to spring semester for an increased load of work. I have more students to work with, so hopefully I want to start on right notes, right energy, right motivation. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Andrea, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay this time? Can
So
you guys?
far, so good.
Okay. Yeah, we had a great break. We had a great Christmas. I have 3 boys, so just had a really nice holiday. And then we headed north to snow and skied our stuff into a yurt, and then skied our stuff into another cabin. And so we've been had no electricity, no running water. So it was really great just to be in snow and out in these cabins. Yeah, I feel like a renewed energy for 2017. I feel like this has been my year of break, and now I'm ready to not be on break anymore, to tackle some things. So I appreciated Stuart reaching out we actually connected today on some business, had a little chat. So that was really great with another life coach friend of mine who is also really great. So I feel like the momentum is starting. So I'm just hoping it will continue.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let us know how we can support you in continuing that momentum.
Thank you.
Awesome. Stuart, how are you doing?
Really well. So I was living in Boston for a year and a half, and I just moved back down to North Carolina, where I lived for a long time. And I'm buying a farm, which I'm closing on in a week and a half, which is going to be great. And starting working at a school. And it looks like we're going to open a branch of the school right next to in the rural, like an outdoors education program, right next to where I'm buying a farm. So it's really exciting. A lot of new stuff in 2017 to come.
In the first week, wow.
Yeah.
With the school, what are you going to be doing at the school?
So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm teaching math at the school in Durham, North Carolina, and it's a homeschool resource center. Mm-hmm. So students come whenever they want, and they have 90 families and about 200 students from age 4 to 19. And then I'll be heading up the outdoor programs in this area, which is about an hour southwest of Durham, as well. So gardening, farming, hiking, running, playing disc golf, any outdoor activity you could think of. It's probably stuff with botany or nature.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds really energizing.
Yeah. It's something that I've imagined in one way or another for a long time, so it's cool to have it come to fruition.
Very cool. And are you going to have animals on your farm and everything, or is that going to be kind of you slowly add to it, or?
The neighbor has pigs and goats and is raising white pigeons. They just put in a green burial, like a cemetery. So they'll be, as part of the funeral, we have white pigeons. So yeah, there's chickens, a donkey. Yeah, so there's some farm animals in addition to all the vegetables and fruit we'll be growing.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I encourage everyone, if you're coming through North Carolina, to come stay. We have a yurt you can stay in.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Stuart.
Yep.
Class next week at Stuart's yurt. All right. Nilima, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. My break was good. Nothing much, just playing with my daughter, 7-year-old and almost 2-year-old. Going inside the tent with them, coming out, stuffs like that. And yeah, just relaxing, and same resolution which I have every year is the same thing this year too. Like execute my plan, not just plan. Yeah, it's very relaxing and excited to work with the students this semester. Yeah.
Awesome. It's nice to have that, a fresh start.
Yep.
Great. And who just joined us on the phone?
It's Emily.
Oh, hello, Emily.
Oh,
Are you still on the go?
yeah, I'm on the road now.
Okay.
30 minutes to figure out how to call in.
Yeah. Well, you
And I might have to leave a little early, like around 5.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well, we actually just went around the room and updated everyone on life and how 2016 ended, how's 2017 so far. So lots of cool things happening with everyone in the class. You want to update us on how's life for you?
Yeah. So the last week before Christmas was pretty rough, actually. My boyfriend, he had some bleeding, like a stomach ulcer. When he was younger, he got in a pretty bad accident, and so his stomach and intestines are rerouted differently, and it causes him to kind of get ulcers every now and then. And he got one the week before Christmas, so it caused us he had to go into the hospital. We had to go into ICU for a couple days, and so it was pretty stressful. But he's doing better now. We were able to actually go home the night, like Friday night at 8 p.m. or so, is when we finally got home. And so we were pretty thankful to be able to go to, Christmas Eve with his family and relax the weekend. And things are looking better. I was pretty thankful to John and Amoys and Amber for being so helpful to me during that time, and having the ability to work from the hospital was, a little bit of a blessing at the same time. But after that, the new year has started really well. It's been positive, and it's just looking at that now.
Well, thanks for catching us up. I'm glad your boyfriend's doing better. You still there, Emily?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know if it went out. All right. Well, my end of things, still both my grandmothers were in the hospital. So that was the last time I think I saw all of you guys. That was all going on. So that was going on all of the holidays over here. It's a little bit draining, a lot of back and forth, but it was just nice to enjoy quality time with family, and got to see a good friend who lives far away. And thinking about the new year for me, I guess I'm thinking about kind of rest, like not I mean, I'm the kind of go person, and I kind of overdo it sometimes. Like, I have all these things I want to do, but I have to take time to take care of myself, which, you know, because I'm carrying a little human, and overdoing it doesn't work out super well. So I guess I'm just learning how to tone down that other side of me that wants to go and do all these things, and like balance that out with like taking time to rest. But I'm excited for all that this year holds, and yeah, thinking back on 2016, it was nice to say goodbye and start fresh, and excited for all of you guys and all of the things happening this year for you. So for today, we're getting into core motivation, which naturally really ties to being questions. Did everyone get a chance to not only read the chapter, but do the handout for core motivations? Okay. I guess raise your hand, and Emily, you can make a noise if you guys did that. Okay. So I see Paul and Lori, Andrea.
I didn't see the worksheet. I mean, I saw the thing explaining motivations, but where was the worksheet at? I think
it's right under training text on the page. So there's the Super Training Guide, which is the book, the student workbook, and then there's a core motivation handout. But it's okay if you want to click on it and open it now. You can follow along. Did you find it, Nick? Or okay.
I haven't seen the handout either. Where is it, you said?
It's right under training texts on the materials page.
Okay.
Stuart, did you find it?
Are you talking about this text or this one?
So Nini, it's on the materials page. So you have the 2 hardback books, but the one that you need is on the materials page. It's a PDF link that says Core Motivation Handout.
Oh, I didn't see that. Did you email that to us, or?
I know I told you guys about it last time, but yeah, it's right on the page right there, on the materials page where you log in.
Okay.
Stuart, I saw you talking a minute ago, but you were muted.
Yeah, I've got it. I have taken a look at it. So everybody's me.
Okay. Needy, were you able to log in and see it?
I'll have to check. Let me.
Okay. All right. So if you guys can pull it up, this is what we're gonna be going over today. So let me know when everyone has it pulled up. And Emily, please don't pull it up while you're driving. If she's still there.
You caught me.
Seriously?
I'm like going at a max speed of 0.1, but I did actually go. I did see that, and I think what you were talking about is like deciding what personality type I am, like between 1 through 9.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was able to. I didn't edit. I think that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah, there's not something else on there that's personality types 1 through 9, so you're good. Okay. All right. Does everyone else have that pulled up? All right. So core motivation is a really cool tool. It's actually based off of the Enneagram, if you guys have heard of that before. And it really helps you as the coach ask questions that really get to a deeper level. Because you're asking about characteristics, helping them move forward, gain new insights. And there's a lot of aha moments that can go with core motivation. you know, whether that someone finds out their type, or, you know, they realize parts of different types that come into play, or, you know, a way that they're learning to just more positively really, like, or I guess they say a healthy way, react to situations a healthy way as their type. So there's so much potential in coaching with using a tool like this. So for this, what we're gonna first do is kind of just see where everyone in our class is at. So if you hadn't gone through it yet, maybe take a minute to read the paragraphs. But there's 9 types. First one is the perfectionist, 2 is the helper, 3 is the doer, 4 is the artist, 5 is the thinker, 6 the friend, 7 the optimist, 8 the defender, and 9 the peacemaker. So everyone right now, did anyone identify with the first type, the perfectionist?
I kind of saw a little of myself in more than one type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's usually the case, but usually what you'll see, Needy, is that one will emerge as kind of the dominant, the more dominant type for you. So it's kind of like if someone was the perfectionist, you know, they're striving for things to be perfect in place. You know, they work really hard at something they're passionate about. They want things around them to be perfect. You know, so it really has a theme. So as of right now, does no one in class identify with the perfectionist? Okay. All right. What about type 2, the helper? What's so funny, Paul? You're muted.
This is kind of ironic that, you know, part of our profession, we would imagine, is to be out there helping. But I'm holding out for a better number. I think I switchboard around a lot of these, but I'll buy into this. I think it has value.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's not like a one thing, this is the answer to all your entire life's problems or figuring out your life, but it is helpful to think about what really drives you, and that can help, you know, if your clients know what really drives them, and, you know, you can help get at that more. So it's really a learning tool. So even if you identify with quite a few, that's totally fine, because then you're learning about yourself and confirming things, or, you know, realizing that some things aren't as big of a deal to you, or some things are more of a big deal. So no one's a helper. No one really.
I think I'm
wait.
Sorry, I had number 2 tied for 3rd place with number 8. So then I went down and read in the core motivation book that's on our page. John compares like every number with every other number. And so I went and read number 2 compared to number 8. And number 8 emerged as like a solid 3rd place instead of number 2. But that's as close as number 2 got for me.
So what kind of helps you choose 8 over 2 as your 3rd choice? Like, what was the deciding factor?
I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look, but it was really obvious at the time. I'd have to go back and look in the manual. I didn't write it down. I think 1 was like, so 8 is like to be in control, and 2 is to be giving or to be a helper. And I don't remember what the factor. I can look. I'll find it. But anyway, number 2 was like 3rd place. It was not my number 1.
Nick, were you starting to talk? Oh, just
That was me.
okay.
Yeah, I think, you know, I had a hard time choosing. I see myself in a lot of them, but I guess, yeah, being a helper is something that really does motivate me. So.
Mm-hmm. So what about being a helper did you really identify with?
So that first sentence there is, what really drives me is my ability to help others. I think that's why I got into education. I think, yeah, I think I gravitate towards those professions. I think even I enjoyed, like, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. How would it be for you, Stuart, like if you felt like you weren't appreciated in helping others?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe defensive. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of a concrete case where that's happened. What does it say? I don't know. It's so hard.
Just
The more I
imagine.
look at it, like that, I think like that. I'm driven to help others, but a lot of the other things that it says in there, I'm not sure are necessarily true for me. Like, I think, you know, I get satisfaction of putting others before myself, though sometimes it takes a toll when I do not focus on my own needs. But I feel like I focus enough on my own needs. So, yeah, definitely hard for me to choose one.
Right. So I'm just going to ask you kind of like a true or false question for you.
Okay.
Would you keep helping others if you never felt appreciated?
No. I don't think so. I think, gosh, that's really hard.
You can chew on it for a little bit, but that's
Yeah.
kind of just helping you even like more decipher if you really are a helper or if that's
Right.
kind of a secondary one.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you can kind of take especially these things and just be thinking about it for you. And, you know, that can be the case for quite a few of these here. But it's sometimes it helps to identify your type if you're like, okay, if it was all this and nothing else, or if it was all like this all the time, would I still be this way? Because we're all such a combination of types. There's a little bit of, I think, of almost every type in all of us. In different situations, they come out. So sometimes it's helpful to just be like, look at things like, if it was this way all the time, what would happen? And then you can tell kind of what's at the root of it. And, you know, kind of your response was like, maybe you hadn't really thought about the appreciation before. So that kind of tells me maybe, I mean, there's maybe that that's not your core part because you're not doing it for appreciation.
Right.
I have heard other people who are like, yeah, if I felt, you know, appreciated, I would want to help people all the time. So. All right. Okay. What about 3, the doer? Did anyone identify as the doer?
That would be my secondary.
Your secondary? How did you decide on that?
Well, in the upcoming numbers, it's just very, I would think, on the spot about my personality type. And when I was first looking through the guide, I actually didn't know there was an 8, an 8, and a 9. And so the doer was actually my number 1. And this was back when I first was like starting working at coach training. And then I was like, oh, there's another number there, and that is definitely me. And yeah. So, and do you want me? I'm definitely a number 8.
How do you know?
Well, at first because it says it's the defender, and I don't want to say I am defensive in any way, but in itself, that's me not wanting to admit my weakness. And I am very strong in my ways, and being able to admit my fault is very, very hard for me, even when I know I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. And then also, I believe in it itself was like being very driven, and that's why I wasn't sure. But when I first read the doer, I thought that was my, that's something I kind of agree with. But in the paragraph in the 8 is just, I felt was more of me.
Mm-hmm. That's cool how you saw the connection and saw the one that was really you, and then you defended about that. That's kind of funny.
Like, I don't want to be a defensive person, but that's why I was like, okay, yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I'm really curious, Emily, what do you feel is the connection between the doer and the defender for you?
I think being very, to my knowledge, I believe they were both kind of wanting to be able to, I guess it's kind of a control thing. And the doer is very, goal-driven, and having the control, it was the control I think it was for me, if I remember right. And that's something we've also talked about in our sessions in the past. Like, I am very, I guess, controlling in certain areas, and that's hard for me to admit too.
Well, thank you for being vulnerable, Emily. Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing. So we have Emily as the doer. So you guys got to see a really good example of how she was torn between two, and how she saw that really key element in the other that was, there's still a relation back to that other type, but there's a reason for the doing. It's not, he's not doing stuff to do it. It's more of, everything else behind that. Anyone else identify with the doer in some way? Nilima, you were talking about your to-do list before, and you were saying that you wanted to do your goals, not just plan them.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where I fit in. So I'm definitely not a doer, I think, because I think I'm a very good planner. I plan things. I'm resourceful when it gets to execution. Mm-hmm. That's where I need help to execute my things. Yeah. And also because I also think I'm a bit of perfectionist, because I want to do like so good, like 100% good, that sometimes keeping that in mind, I don't progress, because from A to Z, I want it so perfect that I don't reach my goal. And sometimes I think it's better to reach, the end point, even though it's like 70% done, than doing like, trying to be perfect 100% and you just reach a little bit and not till the end. So, mm-hmm. And I'm a helper too. I feel it's inborn in me that I like to it just gives me a lot of pleasure helping somebody who is in need, and if somebody gets benefit from my thing. So probably I'm more into helper. Yeah, like I fit very well in helper, but I can see myself as a perfectionist, which is not good sometimes.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this, Nilima. Before you help someone, you feel like you have to help them in the perfect way?
Yeah, like I want to do
like 100%?
Yeah, like I would help them 100%, till they reach their goal. I wouldn't leave them alone. Just tell, I want to be involved with them till I see they got it. Yeah.
Right. So that sounds like your core is probably perfectionist, because perfectionists passionately work about something. They're really hard and they give it 100%.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean that you're not I wouldn't say that perfectionist is a bad thing. I think sometimes people think it's a bad thing, but at your root, you want to do things 100% and you want to help people 100%.
Yeah. So
it sounds like that might be your main one. I'm not going to say I think that's your main one. I'll let you decide that. But it's interesting how that's at your core. Like you want to do things right. You really care. You're passionate about, like you were saying, planning and making sure that so that you can do things to your best ability.
Yeah, I guess planning, like the perfectionist, and more like planning and not being able to execute. It might be more like my personal things, not related to coaching. Yeah. So yeah, like different scenarios, I guess. Yeah, but you're right. Like when it comes to coaching, I want to be 100% in that. Yeah.
Right. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. All right. So in Nilima's case, it's interesting how you could, reflecting on something that, she was more of the planning part of doing, and so we were able to kind of have a conversation about what her types are, based on maybe this is what you don't do naturally, or maybe that's something that so just having an idea with that with a client, for example, if someone's, getting into type 4, if, someone just naturally shares their emotions with you and shares where they're at, you might already have a hunch that they're an artist. You probably, maybe they're not the thinker, if they, depending on, that might not be their main thing. A lot of people that ask questions are craving the details. You can kind of see those things in people as you talk to them. So as coaches, when you're helping people figure out and coach around their types, and I've kind of been asking some questions as I've been going here to give you guys an idea. But there's a lot to dig into, and a lot that people can learn about themselves, and we can learn about ourselves. I feel like I learn something new every time with this worksheet. So type 4, do we have any artists? Great, Lori.
Can you hear me, or should I stop this?
Yeah, mute it because you were cutting out, or hide your face.
Okay, so can you hear me now, or should I call in?
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, I've been moving around this room to see if I can get a better connection. I had a hard time just trying to figure out. At first, I didn't think I was any of them, but the more I studied it, 4 would be the primary one that kind of ended up, and then 2 was secondary, and then 7. But one of the things that helped me really was it's the last page of the core motivation handout on communication, and it says how to communicate with each type, and that really solidified it for me. And it also solidified some of the people in my life who are different types. the way I need to communicate with them. And it's hard when it's so opposite of me. It's a lot of work, but.
Very cool. So if I heard you right, you also identify with a 2 and a 7, but 4 is your main one, and you really solidified that by seeing how they communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like when you go through this and then you start thinking about, your family members or your significant others, and it's really interesting. Kind of seeing like, oh, no wonder. I get it now, or this is why we're always clashing. So it's,
oh my gosh, that's so true. My son is an 8 and a doer, and when it says how to communicate with him, it's exactly the way he communicates. I don't even know if I'll be able to, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
yeah. Well, first step is just understanding where they're at, and
Right.
yeah. Well, great. Thanks, Lori.
Mhm.
All right. Is anyone else an artist, or have parts of them that they felt kind of related to the artist? Paul, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did. I am an artist, and I use that emotionality with students as well as a counselor, but I definitely know that I can be creative from that place. But I don't know. I have it pretty restrained too, so I'm not going to go way out there on the artist thing. Although I really like processing my emotions, and I like processing the emotions of kids. And it's really, I think, important work in our line of work to have that rich energy and awareness of how meaningful some kids' emotions are for them. So that's where I'd go with that.
Mm-hmm. So there's parts of you that are definitely artist. What type did you more strongly relate to then?
Oh, I'm definitely a 7. I have to have a little bit of all of this stuff. You know what I mean? So we'll get to 7 and we can talk more later, right?
Great. All right. Thanks for sharing, Paul. All right. Well, what about 5, the thinker or the expert? How do you know, Nick?
I am so very clearly 5, and actually I had looked at this before, just in a different way, like the handout, and the thing is, and the more I thought about it, the more I was sitting here as we were going through all of these, I realized in my head I was trying to come up with ways to like prove that I was 5. And I feel like that in itself is sort of a quality of 5. I've been over here working on a list of things about myself as sort of evidence that I am a 5. And I realized as I was making that list that that's probably evidence that I'm a 5. Just because like I want that evidence. I want to logically work through it, and I want to make sure that I know what I need to know before I start talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're the kind of person that craves learning?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, when it's so obvious? Mm-hmm. I think there's certain ones that if you're it, you'll know. So very cool. All right. Was there any other types that you were thinking about or considering, or you saw parts of yourself in?
A little bit of 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think 7 is a little more easygoing than I am. I think there were definitely some things about 7 that I just did not identify with, but definitely the idea of new experiences and learning things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you can have some of those 7 qualities come out when you're able to like be in your role of a 5.
Right.
Because then you're like, I got this, things are going the way I need them to go. Like you said, like you're fully prepared to talk about something before you talk about it. And then you can really just operate in the optimism of that
right.
when you're good to go. Very cool. All right. Well, what about the friend? I mean, I hope we're all friendly in some way. But anyone just strongly identify with the six, the friend? I think I see some of my husband in this. It's super funny because I think about, actually Nick, my husband's name's Nick, and I think he's a thinker too. So maybe it's something about that name. But he's an accountant, but he goes really strongly with the friend because it's always like worst case scenario, but overthinking it. So it's kind of interesting. Like I've seen the friend come up some.
I think I would agree with that too. I mean, looking at that again, I think that's one of the reasons I don't identify as much with 7 is because I'm definitely not. I'm more of a pessimist than an optimist.
Mm-hmm.
I think envisioning those worst case scenarios are easier to prepare for than expecting the best to happen. So yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. I really see I would say my husband's a 5.5. He's right in between those. Yeah. Anyone else identify with the friend at all? Or have any thoughts about the 6th one right there?
I actually did this with my 15-year-old like a couple hours ago, and that was really interesting doing it myself and then doing it with him. But he emerged as type 6, a friend, which is just really interesting when you're 15 and you're like envisioning worst case scenarios all the time. But I never, like, he's been like that for so long, and it kind of bothers us as parents, but now I'm like, oh, okay. It helped me understand him a little bit better. And then it also happens a lot, like when he interacts with adults, the part about like not really trusting people initially until they kind of win over your trust. And he's totally like that. He's even like been a little rude to adults, at times, making my husband and I really uncomfortable. But I just feel like I understand him better. But he's totally the friend. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's really cool to figure out like what types your family members are and or parts of them to just kind of relate to. Yeah. All right. Well, 7. So we know Paul. Paul's a 7. Andrea. Okay. You guys are very optimistic. All right. So Paul, did we finally get to hear what you have to say?
Well, I just think life's a big adventure, and I'm always ready for the next thing. Whatever comes down, I'm probably interested in learning a little bit more about it. And I think that's why maybe 7s and 5s have a lot in common, because I feel like learning is a big 7 activity, and teaching for me became a big 7 activity, and like designing adventures out of learning in many different kinds of classes, types of classes, was a huge lifelong adventure. And I think every kid that comes into my room is another adventure, and it goes on and on. But the downfall is actually, and it says, it's funny, like communication page, and I saw that somewhere else, like we're somehow running away from pain, and we just want to be like having so many balls juggling in the air and so much about what's going on out there that I don't really want to look inside at what's actually going on. So avoidance can be an issue. And SMARCLES, it's really important for me to be really clear. I said that before, about getting back to that 5, like being really well intentioned and really take small action steps and get that focus back. Because I could just be pure energy sometimes. So yeah, optimistic for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you about learning. It seems like learning and optimism, really, like from the trend that I've seen, you know, working and coaching students too. Definitely seen that a lot. There's that zeal and optimism for learning, usually. Awesome. Andrea, so you said you're 7 too?
Yeah, a 7 emerged like very, very clearly for me, kind of like Nick. It just was like the one. What was interesting is I actually, when I was doing this, I was actually reading the Core Motivation book. Like, isn't there one on our class page that is like a whole book on this?
Yeah, that's the worksheet. So yeah, it's like a...
Well, there was like the worksheet, but then there was also another, well, anyway.
Yeah, there's an entire book.
There's okay.
Yeah, like 150 pages or something.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys talking about the workbook?
Well, there's a book called Core Motivation. Like, it's not the workbook, but it's another book. It's a long book. I actually read the whole thing because I was totally interested in it. Anyway, in that book, it's not, number 7 is not called The Optimist. It's called The Enthusiast. So it looks like maybe at some point John changed the name of number 7, but I actually really like the name The Enthusiast better. I mean, not that I'm not optimistic, but The Enthusiast is sort of how I would identify myself. But I really, in particular, identified with like the very last line in the workbook that says, like when I have many options to choose from, that I have a hard time deciding because I want them all. And so that's really, it's a problem. My husband says I suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out. So I have this constant like, are we doing the right thing? Should we be doing this other thing? It's been really difficult, like as I'm looking at a career change, to really just lock into one thing. So while there's a lot of positives to being a 7, it can also be very difficult in trying sometimes. But so anyway, The Enthusiast. Do you know what book we're talking? Nick, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure I have it pulled up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 140 pages or something. That sound about right?
Yeah. I know there's a link for the book for sale for $10, but it looks like there might be a link like lower down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like there's like a
PDF.
It's a PDF.
Yeah. Because there's the handout, but it's not under. You have to like make sure it's there. But there's also the book is available to buy at a different place on the page. But yeah, you're right. There's the book as well.
I found that book really helpful because when I was trying to decide between 2 things, he really breaks down, like if you're trying to decide between a 2 and an 8, for example, he really clearly explains the difference between those. So I just found that really helpful. It was cool.
Right. Yeah, that will be, if anyone feels torn, still definitely check out that book.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. It didn't used to be available on there. It used to be just a thing you could buy. So that's cool. I'm glad you guys have that available. All right. So we got 2 7s. And I guess I would have to say that I really identify with the 7 too. I'm a go. Love to be learning, have a lot of options. But for me, I've actually really been torn between being the peacemaker, just because I like to make sure people are happy. And I like things to go smoothly. So I'm kind of a combination. I feel like at the core though, I am a 9. But like I don't know, I definitely relate to a lot of like I would say, definitely I agree with you, Andrea, like that enthusiast, like, I just love learning and being enthusiastic about things. And definitely used to have a problem being a pushover and being a people pleaser. So that's how I know I'm definitely a peacemaker. And as I've grown up, I've learned to be a healthy 9, not just going with the flow just to keep things hunky-dory. So in that case, it's like, okay, can't help everything, can't keep everyone happy. I'm going to choose to be optimistic instead. So that's a little bit of where I'm at. And then let's see, we have Emily as a defender. Does anyone else identify with the defender?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, that one strikes a chord with me, definitely.
Stuart, do you feel like you're more of a 2 or an 8, or was there another type you felt like you were more of?
I think the more I looked at it, I think 8 is probably pretty. I have both, but I think 8 is pretty big, at least right now. I'm not sure. I think 8 is. I don't know. I don't get too caught up in like I'm this or like one or another, but I think 8 is a big part for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't have to be locked in to be like, this is exactly who I am. But that's cool that you saw some things. So we know Lori's a 2, Stuart's an 8 and a 2, kind of a mix. Let's see, Neelima, kind of a 1 and a 2. Emily as an 8 with 3 attributes. Lori, you're a 4, right? Sorry, I wrote you down wrong. You're a 4 first, and then a 2 and a 7.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right, and then Paul's a 7. Then Nick is a 5.
Actually, I'm gonna steal your thing and say that I'm a 5.5.
5.5. Okay. All right, and then Andrea is a 7 as well. All right. Well, those are the types, and now that you kind of know a little bit about where everyone's at, does anyone have any questions about any of the specific types? Or, because we're in a minute here, we're going to coach around core motivation.
I just have a question about teens doing this. How easy is it for a teenager to do this exercise? Just when I was doing it with my son, I found he had a much more difficult time than I did deciding. And I'm curious from your experience, like, how do teens respond to this exercise?
Right. Well, any of the teens that I've worked with and had to do this, like, I wouldn't ever be like, okay, do this, and like pressure them, like sit there with them and like tell them to get it done. It's more of like, here's a highlighter, go hang out for a little bit and just highlight the things that stand out to you. Not even telling them you have to pick a certain one. I mean, because for some kids, it's like there's a part of them that wants to please you. They figure it out, or they put pressure on themselves. So how I approach it is like, hey, I want you to just read this, and I want you to highlight any of the words, anything that stands out to you. And that's a great place to start, because you're not putting pressure on them to decide on their part. But then you could look at that and be like, wow, I noticed that you highlighted like almost this whole paragraph. Why did that ring such a bell with you? Like, you can just approach it that way. And you'll have to know the student too, because some students are like, they'll read it over and like, I'm this type, you know? But I would approach it from the way of just highlight what stands out to you, because that, you know, something will stand out to them. But if you throw in the pressure of like, hey, figure out your life, sometimes that doesn't work too well with especially younger teens. They can experience some pressure. But definitely things will stand out, and just let them know like it's normal if, you know, you highlight a lot or you highlight a little, like just whatever you like, you highlight and you say, this is you. And, you know, then just go with kind of your gut too about that particular student, because you'll get to know them and you'll know, okay, maybe they just need me to talk about these types. Some students might be like that. And I've actually had students where like, I can't read something else, like it's too much. It turned out they were perfectionists because they wanted to read it and they felt like they had to memorize every word in order to talk about it. So just like having a conversation like, you know, this is the perfectionist. What do you think about that? Is any of that, do you identify with any of that? So just know your student, but I like to not put pressure and just be like, hey, let's learn a little bit more about you today. Or here's your homework. That's usually homework, just to like highlight it and read over it. And then talk about it, and just, you know, just don't put pressure, I think, because that can really make it hard for them to learn when, you know, if there is that sometimes. Other questions about core motivation? All right. Well, I want to get you guys to practice coaching, just to practice coaching someone around this. But I want to give you guys kind of an idea of what it might look like. So we want the kind of the agenda of the coaching time to be like something similar to like gaining awareness on how to grow personally in the next few weeks. So based on what we've talked about with core motivation, or what, you know, struck a chord with you, you know, what do you want to learn? So, for example, Nick, maybe you're like, I really want to learn how to be a 5.5 or kind of acting within that space in the next 2 weeks or next week. That could be kind of for Nick, that might be something he might like to do. Or maybe Lori is, you know, like, I'm going to learn more about being a 4, but I want to know how to grow in, you know, as a 7 and a 2 too. So that might just be a great place to start a conversation, because there's something in those types that they want to work on. So from there, then you would ask Bing questions, and really dig into that, and then learning, and then get to action. Just kind of how we introduced the learn, be, do model last time we talked. So it's just about being curious and meeting them where they're at, and just helping them gain awareness about whatever they want to gain awareness on today. Does that make sense? So it's just a little bit more play. You can talk about, Emily, did you have something to say?
I was actually just going to let you finish, but I'm going to be going into an appointment right now. I didn't want you to put me into a group just in case I have to end the phone call in a couple of minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put everyone in breakout rooms now. So we won't put you in one. I don't think I can even when you're on the phone. All right. Well, thanks for being here, Emily.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have a session next week still, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I will see you guys next week then.
Great. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you, Hannah. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, does anyone have any questions about what we're going to be coaching around today? Okay. So we are actually, let's see, take 15 minutes each, so half hour total, or actually we might be able to do a little bit more than that. Let's go ahead, we'll do 20 minutes each coaching, so 40 minutes total. So that'll give us plenty of time to debrief at the end. Does anybody have any questions just about what we're going to do, or need any ideas for being questions? Or
So just to clarify, Hannah, you said we're going through the learn, be, do process for this?
Well, it's building off of that, but yes, it will follow that kind of structure. So, they're setting the agenda of like something they want to learn or gain awareness around in the next week. Specifically, you want to focus on being like helping them gain awareness, and then the learning that comes out of that, and then that'll naturally flow into action. So what are they going to do? So especially focus on being and practicing being today, but there'll be learning questions too, for sure. And then it'll naturally get into action because there'll be something that they want to do in the next week to gain awareness. Or, hey, you gained this awareness through our 20 minutes together. What do you want to do with that now? And that would be the action at the end. Does that make sense? So you don't have to be like, oh, I had X number of learn questions, this many be, or this many do. Just specifically be intentional about practicing being questions, because next week we'll practice more learning. So try and help them gain awareness as much as possible. So think about, what can I ask them to help them learn something new? So it kind of connects to learning, but learn something new about themselves, gain awareness about something they didn't know before. Sound good? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms. So we're going to take 20 minutes each. And by the time we get there, we'll go ahead and be back here at 5:50 Pacific.
I think one of the things I learned with the motivation in general is I was reminded that it doesn't actually matter whether you believe that, this gets into some fundamental part of a person, that it's actually it can just be a way it can just be a conversation starter about personality, about being. And it can just be, rather than, sometimes just having some sort of exercise can get things going, and how valuable that can be. So that was neat to have that realization.
Cool. Yeah, it's a springboard into a lot of possible conversations. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome.
All right. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, I was just gonna follow up, since we were in the same breakout room, Stuart and I. And yeah, I think as a coach, I think I definitely want to echo something he said, that, I think for me, the motivation types are good at giving me a language to think about these things, and less about, whether my student or my client, whether they're a 2 or a 4 or a 9, and instead it gives me a language to talk about motivation. And it gives me a language to sort of figure out what people want. And that actually came up when I was being coached by Stuart, is that, that sometimes I sort of place so much premium on efficiency that the empathy gets lost. And I think having the language to know that, and the language to process that, and the language to apply that with clients eventually is going to be incredibly useful.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like awareness too, like just how things interact and how they might work together. And yeah, it might not be like, oh, you're a 2, here's your name card with your type on it. It's like, yeah, there's so much more that come out of it. Thanks for sharing, Nick. All right. Well, Andrea, you were ready to go at the get-go.
Let's see, as a coach, I guess I was, I found myself like getting really nervous when it was like about to be my turn. And then you started to talk and it's like, nothing's coming. I have no questions. I'm just listening, but nothing's coming to me, and sort of feeling anxious about the fact that I'm supposed to be asking curious questions and nothing's happening. But that was good because you kept talking, so that was good. And then eventually it just happens. I don't know. The questions just start to emerge in your mind. The curiosity just starts to emerge. So that was just interesting to notice that really there's no need to worry or try to plan. That the process will take care of itself. So that was really interesting as a coach. And then as a client, just starting to talk about being a type 7 and then realizing just many other things about the things that I shared with you, Hannah, just not just being aware of the path that the conversation went. So starting at point A, but realizing, oh, okay, point A is actually tied into B, C, D. So that was just interesting to note. And some of the qualities that I saw in type 7, I think are a result of just like being in this year of a career shift. And so just exploring that, what the past year has meant was good for me.
Yeah, and Andrea, when you coached me, I wasn't like, this is awkward, I'm just going to keep talking because she's not saying anything. It was more like you were holding the space. Like, that's literally what it is. And it's okay to hold the space for your client. That's basically just letting them talk. Because, I certainly wasn't there was a lot, I felt like I had to, wanted to say and explain, it just happens. And kind of organically, you kind of dug in and you you found something and followed your intuition. And I felt like it, as the client, I felt like you held the space for me really well. It wasn't like, you're like, what am I going to do? I didn't feel like your energy was like that at all. So I really appreciated that. And, it's good to even communicate with a client. Hey, occasionally I might pause. That's because I'm just letting you process everything. And just make sure that you're, because a lot of times that happens pause, and I had to practice that. I had the opposite problem where I was like, I'm just going to say something, it just came to mind. But I was rushing the client, and really great learning and awareness can't always happen if you're spitfiring questions at them. So it goes both ways, but I really, as the client, I felt well supported. And then what you mentioned, Andrea, about kind of how the agenda changed, that's totally normal. You might set something, but then you go back and, the standard is, the ICF standard of coaching is to kind of reframe the agenda. So it's sounds like you started off with this, but this has really emerged as what's really important to you right now. Is that what you would like to focus the rest of our time on? That is totally allowed, and that happens. It's important to recognize there was a shift. So that was a cool learning moment. So, and I really appreciated getting to be coached. I feel like I learned something new with Core Motivations every time, and it's always helpful to talk about and just kind of feel like those things that you learn about yourself. Or they still kind of follow you around, so you're still a work in progress. And so that's kind of my takeaways. I still have things to work on, but it's kind of exciting to know that we're not I think what Andrea said was something about are you there? Are you the person you want to be? Or what percent are you there? I was like, I'm not there yet, but that's kind of exciting to know that there's a lot of growth and learning that can still happen. So as a client, that was really cool to realize. All right. Well, Lori, we miss your face.
No, I hate that I can't. I know. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Well, Needy is the most peaceful person. She is 100% peaceful. Kind of makes it difficult to have, help her improve in any way. But actually, Andrea, I really appreciate what you had just said, because this was the first week I didn't feel as just like you described. I felt a little calmer because Needy made me feel calm. And I felt much more able to be naturally curious, which felt really good. And I felt like I was able to, I don't know, just be in the way I'm supposed to be listening. And, I don't know, it felt better this time. It was very interesting. And I had looked ahead at, I had that handout. So I was asking questions about, like, she's a peacemaker. And when a peacemaker is at its healthiest, it goes to, I think it's a doer. So, like, she's like, that's what happens with her. I mean, she was very interesting to talk to.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Lori. All right. Needy, what were your takeaways?
Well, I must say that it's great being with Lori in breakout sessions. This was our second opportunity being together, and I would totally agree. I also felt a natural calm because we were trying to discover each one's personality types, and we kind of identified with one core type, but then also saw a little bit from the other type. And then so we tried to clarify and see how optimizing our core type makes us manifests the other types, because that kind of complements and completes our personality. So I think this exercise was great in getting an insight into learning about your client, the attitudes and the approaches the client might, is currently taking or might take. So it was great in just getting that insight into the client, and likewise, just being coached was also a great experience. It just helped you gain clarity about your own self and the type. So yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Thank you, Needy, for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, Nilima and Paul, who wants to go first?
Well, I enjoyed probably being a coach more than a client, just because I'd rather talk about somebody else than myself. And it was neat because Nalini was still kind of torn between helper and perfectionist, and looking at which one of those was more of a core motivator. And the whole experience with Nalini moved us into exploring who we both are because of the kinds of jobs we have. There's in one way similar and in other ways not, because of the high school versus college, or a number of clients and what we do and not. But we got to kind of look at our own motivations for how our days shape who we are and what we can do with the week ahead, in trying to build a better understanding about how we both showed up as two different kinds of personality types, and how they bounce off of each other, I think is pretty significant. Yeah, so I guess that's enough for now. Sorry, I'm tired today.
No worries. Yeah, all that resting, relaxing will do that to you.
I'm never going to be able to wake up tomorrow.
Lots of coffee if you drink coffee.
Of course.
All right. Nilima.
Yeah, Paul had great, as usual, very great questions, and he helped me a bit to understand more of my core motivation thing, and it's just about like overall like how we helped each other to figure out what how we can be better, not just for the client but just for us too, so that we can be able to balance like both very well. So it was a good talk with overall about just how to be better and enjoy life in general. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Okay. Well, thank you all. It's great to have you all back after a couple weeks off. Next week, we're going to be building off of what we did this week. So, we did more of like being like who our client is, and now we're going to be able to focus more on learning questions. The signature question, what are you learning about yourself? So lots of good stuff to dig into next week. If you have time, definitely check out the book, or even at least read Your Type, because there's even more detail in the book about core motivations. So that might be helpful to you all. And as always, I mean, if you have any questions or need anything, feel free to reach out to me. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Stuart, you'll be closed on your farm by time we talk next, or?
The Friday after the Wednesday we talk next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll be almost 2 days away from closing when we talk.
2 days away, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys all have a wonderful first week of 2017. Paul will be thinking of you tomorrow morning when you have to wake up. And y'all take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.